Thank you. I'd like to introduce Senator Toby Stavisky, who is Ranking Member on Higher Ed.
Thank you, Chancellor, and I particularly appreciated your comment that the state is not doing enough in terms of its support for SUNY, and as a result, the burden is falling on SUNY, but the burden is falling even more significantly on the students. I have a number of questions. Based upon your testimony, on page 2, you talk about you had 1.3 million last year, and now there's been a decline in enrollment. Have you found any kind of correlation between the decline in enrollment and the increase in the tuition costs brought about by SUNY 2020?
So I'm going to ask if any of our state-operated presidents have seen that. I think we've answered the sense that we have as many low-income students and as ever before. You know that we pay the gap between TAP, which is $5,000, and I just want to make sure everybody knows, and the $64.70, which is the annual tuition, and we pay that gap, and we're proud of it. We wouldn't mind a little help from the state in buying down the cost of that gap, because that's a third of the rational tuition that goes directly to close that gap. But any remarkable shift in?
Our proportion of Pell-eligible students, which is about around 40%, has remained pretty stable over the last 5 years, as is the population of our students receiving TAP. I think what we're finding is that we're, over the last 5 years, recruiting more economically vulnerable students, or students who may not have the same level of preparation, even though their entering grades are as good or better than previous. So we're finding that in order to increase our retention rates and our graduation rates, we're needing to expend much, much more on academic and student support than previously, so that the students that we bring in experience success and graduate.
So you're suggesting that the students are not going to college?
I'm sorry.
The reduction in the student enrollment, I suspect, what is happening to those students?
Well, if you look at our entire enrollment picture for the last 15 years, it's essentially flat. The shift came from our community colleges, who experienced a peak in enrollment during a recession.
Happens
and again,
all the time.
So I think that's really the issue here. And I guess it needs to be said, SUNY's tuition is very competitive, the lowest in the Northeast and in the lowest quartile around the country. The debate here is who is going to bear the cost of college in New York. What part of the cost of college must come from the state to reduce the burden on our students? But we all ought to be proud of the effort to keep tuition affordable given our peers.
I asked in the past questions about the cost of remediation.
Yes?
Particularly obviously the community colleges are bearing the brunt. What has been your trend in terms of the numbers, the cost, and so on?
Well, let me reiterate that I think now 3 years ago, we told everybody publicly that we were bearing an exorbitant cost for remediation, $70 million. It was costing our students something like $94 million to pay for courses that did not accrue to degree. Since that time, we have implemented myriad programs. First, we worked more closely with our K-12 colleagues. We now have 57 early college high schools, which get students ready and even allow them to enroll in college courses. We are now adopting an intervention in math called Quantway Statway, working with the Carnegie Foundation for the advancement of teaching to see this intervention, which I think, Ann, gets students out of remediation twice as fast and 3 times better prepared. We know it works, we're taking it to scale. So we've been very busy since we went public, and we need, Eileen, to figure out just exactly how the costs are decreasing. But I think, as we would say, we're on it. We have multiple pathways. We're using what works effectively. And of course, it's a pipeline issue, and that's why we're working closely with our K-12 colleagues to nip remediation in the bud where it occurs and to be helpful, not point the finger, but to be helpful to our peers.
I don't personally think that's the purpose. Remediation is not the purpose of a community college. It's the purpose of the K through, or pre-K through 12. So I'm not being critical. I'm just asking you, so you're suggesting that the percentage is going down?
Yes, and I think we ought to be able to prove that over time, so we'll work on that for you. But I do want to say, as I say every year, we prepare the teachers who teach the students who come to college, ready or not. We can never not own the challenge of getting kids college and career ready through their K-12 experience.
With regard on page 4 of your testimony, you speak about the Budget Investment and Performance Fund.
Yes?
From what I understand, the larger campuses do fairly well. How are the smaller campuses affected? Are they competitive? Do they have a better chance?
No, this was, the process was actually, the reviews were done by external reviews, external to SUNY, and the chance was, it was equal amongst all sizes. And we can get you the data, but the spread amongst our universities and comps and techs and community colleges we all received funding.
So there is a level playing field?
Yes.
And what's really exciting about this investment fund is that it really reinforced collaboration. And so in many ways, the request to renew that $18 million is to persist in funding programs that were darn good, but we didn't have the money to fund them, and to encourage more collaboration across our campuses. That, to me, is how we take what works to scale.
Going back to 2020, your prepared statement talks about 919 new faculty. That is a direct result of SUNY 2020?
Yes, we
Are
counted.
these full-time or adjuncts?
They're full-time mostly. I don't know the
Full-time.
ratio.
They're full-time.
Full-time. We have
Full-time, thank you.
consensus, full-time.
So I assume that the ratio of full-time faculty is improving.
We have in our testimony or we can provide for you exactly the ratio of full-time to part-time, because I think you should know that. But yes, we're trying to keep the balance of full-time to part-time faculty intact.
Let me just, one last question. You spoke about student debt, and yet nationally there's a trend of something like 60% of the students graduate with debt, which averages a little under $30,000 a year. Can you be a little more specific about the student debt that the SUNY students, and do you track the students? How do you handle that?
So I'll give you just some facts, and if you need more than that, 40% of students, SUNY students, have no loan debt when they graduate.
Good.
26, the average is 26,000. And basically, our focus on completion is the key. If they can graduate faster, then they're going to have less debt. And also, just as part of the Performance and Investment Fund, 29 campuses collaborated and asked for Smart Track funding, and they got it. So Smart Track funding, which also helps students reduce debt, is going to be system-wide.
I understand it's a very successful program, too.
Yes.
Right, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyman Weprin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Chancellor,
Thank
and
you.
I'm glad to see President Jones as well, of my alma mater, SUNY Albany. Many, many years ago, I graduated in the 70s, and I was actually active in student government at the time. I was on the Student Senate and the Central Council, and I don't ever remember the student representation working so closely with the administration as demonstrated by Mr. Mastro's appearance here today. I think that's a positive thing, by the way. I don't think that's a negative
It was
thing.
the 70s.
Yeah, that was, that's true. But I'm glad to see you're working closely together. In the Assembly, I chair a task force on people with disabilities. And I work very closely with the CUNY Leads program, which we provided some additional funding last year, which provides extra services for those students with disabilities. And we actually changed the TAP rules last year to extend the time for students to graduate to receive TAP because of a lot of students with disabilities take longer to graduate. My question for you is, do you have a similar program dealing with students with disabilities? It may not be as formalized, but I'd like to know what you've been doing as far as accommodating the special needs of some of these students with disabilities and to give them that extra assistance that they may need.
We'll start with our community college.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. At the college level, I can tell you the community colleges do work actively with students who present with a need for accommodation, whether it's a physical disability or a learning disability. I will also say some of those numbers are rising, especially with returning veteran students who mainly find their first college experience at our community colleges. We also engage, I will speak specifically about MCC, with some interesting collaborations in our community around students with intellectual disabilities and providing them with workforce readiness training so that they can see a future for themselves. It's an incredibly popular program, not a huge program, but I can tell you it's life-changing, not just for those students, but for their families who now know that their son or daughter can have a brighter future.
Well, this is at the community college, though. You're with Monroe Community College.
I'm with Monroe Community
What
College.
about with the major universities?
I don't know, Eileen, maybe President Jones or Esterberg would answer, but whether any of our investment funds went to extend services, disability services, but every campus has them. And I would say that our decision to have a chief diversity officer on every campus includes our services to students with disabilities, to returning veterans, as well as to cultural diversities as well. So maybe we can give you a comprehensive report on our disability services.
And if you could also look into a similar program to CUNY
Yeah.
Leads, because that's been very
Yeah.
successful, and I know it's been
do that.
expanding, and I think that's something that might fit the SUNY model as well, and it might be something you should be looking at.
What usually happens to us is that we find 10 of them that we might not have known we had at this moment, but we will do that research for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much. Senator Krueger, and then me.
Good morning.
Good morning, or afternoon. We're not used to this.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. I forgot we started in the afternoon. Excuse me. So following up on several of the different questions that were asked about expenditures of SUNY, there was a letter from the Director of State Operations, and he cited an article claiming that the administrative overhead costs at SUNY were $3,800 per student. So I'm curious, one, do you agree with that analysis? Two, where does that fall in relationship to perhaps 5 years ago or 10 years ago? And three, if $3,800 per student is for administrative costs, how much per student per year is spent on faculty and teaching staff?
The data that was used was NCES, IPEDS data, and they compared SUNY, which is a comprehensive system which has 30 community colleges, 29 state-operated colleges, 5 statutory, and 3 teaching hospitals, against systems that are not that comprehensive. So I think that's a starting point. In addition to that, if you look at some other data that's provided from that same source, we spend more. We spend $10,000 plus per FTE on instruction than those other systems we were compared to. So we can give you that comprehensive data. And I'm sorry, the jumping up and down has caused me
Take a breath.
not get my air.
No problem.
But, and under the period of SUNY 2020, that 5-year period, we have managed academic instruction costs along with academic support and student services grew at a higher rate than our administrative costs. And in more recent years, the last 2 years, that span was at 5%, a little slightly over 5% growth on the academic student support and academic support versus a 2.5% on administrative. So as our shared services and our collaborations have kind of taken hold, we're growing more on the academic side than the
I
administrative
think
side.
in short, we would welcome the opportunity to give you the data that Eileen just
Right, I
reported.
appreciate it. And can you just repeat that number that you said for faculty cost, 10,000 something per
No,
student?
instructional costs, we
Uh-huh.
had 10,300 per FTE, and we actually had the data for every other institution we're compared for, and it's higher.
Got it. And then following up on an additional question, just so I make sure I did understand the answer correctly, it is SUNY's position that when your tuition goes up above TAP levels and we don't increase the TAP maximum, you are continuing to meet the earlier commitment to students that you pick up that
Absolutely.
cost?
And collectively, that's about $60 million at this point.
$6 million.
60 million.
60, excuse me. Thank you. The chancellor mentioned that she's been here 7 years, and you've actually had to do a search for 47 college presidents. So how many of your total SUNY system college presidents have turned over in 7 years?
Well, we have 59 campuses. I'm doing this out loud. This will be embarrassing. Not counting the statutory campuses. And of those 59, we have replaced 47. Now, I can even remember Cliff Wharton saying to me in his tenure, he hired 54 presidents. He was chancellor for 9 years. I couldn't believe this, but 6 times 9. In other words, we have a turnover rate of about 6 presidents a year for retirement, for some change of position, but I would say more retirement than change of position. We've had some long-standing tenured presidents. But we've been busy, yes.
Yes, for some reason that number just sort of stood out to me as like, oh, that's a lot of turnover.
Well, considering, no, it really isn't. I don't
Okay.
view it at all as that. There might be some instances where there's been more rapid turnover, but by and large, our tenure of our presidents is probably somewhere between 6 and 8 years, which is about the national average. Don't ask me about the tenure of chancellors of systems, because it's frightening.
Then I won't ask you that question.
Okay.
So there's a SUNY Central Board, then do each of your colleges or community colleges have their own boards?
Our community colleges have their own local boards, and in fact, the Environmental Science and Forestry campus, for some reason, has a board, but our state-operated campuses have college councils. College councils are appointed by the governor, and community college boards are appointed by governors and local counties.
Local sponsors.
Local sponsors.
And with an elected student. Our boards are appointed by the governor, also by our local sponsors, and then there is an elected voting student trustee who serves on the board as well.
And what percentage are appointed by your local governments, your local sponsors, as you put it?
Sure. There are 5 local appointees. There are 4 gubernatorial I may have that reversed, though. Wait. No, there are 4 gubernatorial, 4, yeah, that's right.
Yes, 4 by the governor.
4 by the governor, 4 gubernatorial appointees, 5 local sponsor appointees, and then the elected student trustee who serves a year term, can run for re-election but serves a term of a year.
So it's really not unusual in your system to have appointees at the local government level?
No,
It's a norm.
No, not at all.
It's typical.
Okay, I thought so.
It's the law.
I just wanted to double check. And
Yeah.
I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyman Lawrence. Oh, he went away. Assemblywoman Maliatakis.
Thank you. Welcome, Chancellor, Presidents, great to have you here. I just had 2 quick questions. I think it's a great discussion today, and I appreciate the questions my colleagues already have asked. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the tuition assistance program. In 2010, well, first we talked about the issue of debt, and we recognize that there is an average debt of about $26,000 or $27,000 per student on average. But that doesn't include graduate school. That just sort of includes undergrad. And so, you know, my concern has been in 2010, the state eliminated the tuition assistance program for graduate students. So if you're a graduate student here in the state of New York, you get absolutely no assistance. And I haven't yet seen the governor put in his proposal the restoration of the tuition assistance program for graduate students, and it costs about $3 million a year. So it's certainly affordable, especially when we're proposing something like the DREAM Act that costs $27 million. So I just wanted to get your opinion on how important it is that we do restore the graduate assistance tuition, because I feel that, you know, our students are graduating with $26,000 debt. We have so many citizens that are taking on multiple jobs to pay for graduate schools. And so I think it is an issue that needs to be addressed, and I'd like to hear your view as professionals in higher education field.
We would take all of the tuition assistance funding this state can garner. We have demands for tuition relief of students in high school who are taking college-level courses. So that exists. We have demand for increase in existing TAP awards. And yes, of course, we would support the reinstatement of graduate TAP. The state has some big decisions to make relative to the investment in talent development, which is, I know 7 years ago when I came, we began to talk very directly about our role in economic development, and I think it hinges almost exclusively on the number of talented New Yorkers whom we can educate and educate better. So I can't answer it any more affirmatively than to say yes, and I think the challenge for all of us is to prioritize where is the greatest need. Is it increasing the TAP figure? Is it starting to fund part-time TAP? Is it starting to fund high school TAP and graduate TAP?
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And additionally, I just want to also point out, I'd like to hear your opinion as well, on the issue that the tuition assistance program, the income eligibility threshold, hasn't been increased in this state since the year 2000. It's been 16 years, and the last time they increased it, it was from $50,000 to $80,000 household income. If you're a family of 6, or let's say you have 3 or 4 children, right? You have to put through college, and you have to do so on a salary of $80,000 with the additional rising cost of living in New York State. I think it's very difficult to do. And so, again, I see the DREAM Act for $27 million, and I'm not putting you in a spot to say which one's more important than the other. I will say, in my opinion, that we should be taking care of the citizens and legal residents of the state first. However, I will say that it is, I think, important that we should be looking to increase the income eligibility threshold for this state, because you know, everything else is increasing in the state, but we're not seeing the TAP awards doing so, and I think our priorities are misplaced in this budget. And I would just like to know your opinion, if you agree that we should be looking at that income eligibility threshold and perhaps bringing it more up to date.
I think we would participate and contribute in the biggest possible way to additional conversations around tuition assistance. I can't say that strongly enough. I have to express a great deal of gratitude that we have what we have, but it can always be expanded and extended, and we would support that conversation.
Well, we'd love to have the SUNY Board of Directors pass a resolution supporting these 2 proposals, and I look forward to working with you in that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm up. So again, we appreciate all of you being here today to give testimony. As you know, Chancellor, I am very blessed in my region to have several institutions of higher learning, whether it's SUNY Fredonia, Alfred State College, the Ceramics College at Alfred University. I'm very much on the cusp of SUNY Geneseo, so Senator Gallivan and I work together on those issues. As far as community colleges go, I have JCC in Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties. And in Livingston, I have Genesee Community College. So you would think with a rural area like mine, we may have a deficit of higher learning, but that absolutely is not the case. And I truly appreciate your attention to all of our SUNY system and our community colleges. I just wanted to ask a couple of things. Was wondering about how things are going with Startup New York and SUNY, and as you may know, I'm sure you know, at Alfred State College, for example, we have a great opportunity with the New Forest economy to actually transform Alfred State into an international center of research, and it has to do with biorefineries and wood products, and it's a clean green, but also a very exciting opportunity. So I didn't know if you had any kind of update for us on some of the different projects that are
Do
moving
that,
forward.
Alex?
Yeah.
Alex Cartwright? Or-
Hi, Alex Cartwright, I'm Provost Executive Vice Chancellor for SUNY. Right now, actually, we do have 58 of our campuses that have already submitted plans for Startup New York. We have 157 approved businesses with projected about $29 million of investment from those companies, and that'll ultimately create about 4,000 jobs. Many of these companies are at the early stages, so the jobs numbers aren't there yet, but they are growing. Alfred State happens to be one of those that is very aggressive in looking at how to use all of their expertise in ceramics to actually grow into the areas that you're talking about. And we've been very fortunate.
Right, and that would
all of
be
our
Alfred
campuses-
University, not Alfred State? And
Alfred State.
Right. Alfred State is different than Alfred University.
Yes.
So Alfred University has a ceramics college. So,
He
but they're
knows the
both.
difference. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe we said it differently.
Sorry, I may have, yeah. And the ceramics school, I mean, yes.
Yes, which
I
is
know.
internationally known also, and they
Yes.
have done, and so we just had, for example, a huge announcement with the governor and lieutenant governor in investing in some things there, so that's phenomenal. And then I know in SUNY Fredonia, we worked very hard to establish an incubator program, so it's great to hear that there's that much progress across the state. So that's good news. I wanted to also ask, you know, we talked a little bit about decreased enrollment, both in community colleges, and that might be economic to a certain extent, because when the economy is not doing as well, people are going back to school to learn new skills and that sort of thing. But also, we have seen a declined enrollment at some of the SUNY schools. For example, Fredonia and Alfred, and up in Potsdam, for example, we see an increased competitive effort from other states to attract our students away. And it's really a major problem. You can drive through my district, and it is filled with advertising, billboards, all kinds of different mechanisms that other colleges are reaching out to people to attract them away. And so, as you know, I had put in a bill to try to address that, to give a somewhat lower tuition rate to people from out of state, but it has to be within a geographic distance. And I just was wondering if you could give us an update, Chancellor, on how those colleges are doing. And I know you're aware of the competition that we are now facing that is extraordinarily heavy, that is taking away local students who may typically have gone to SUNY Fredonia or gone to Alfred.
Well, we're very pleased that you are interested in support of sort of the border state tuition mechanism that would help us be competitive across our borders. I did want to say, we have this very ambitious degree completion commitment from 93,000 degrees issued a year, which is a big number, to 150,000 degrees issued a year by 2020. And I think maybe because Alex is an engineer, he has determined that we can't get more degree completions if we don't increase access and enrollment. So you've begun to break down our enrollment strategies to help the Fredonias, to help the campuses that have experienced some loss. And there are 3 or 4 ways we're going to do that you might tell quickly.
Yes. So what we're trying to do is look at holistically the entire enrollment across the whole system, and to think about where we would target for increases in enrollment. Nearby states increasing, attracting students there, making our campuses more competitive, looking also at the existing 6.9 million people in New York that are uncredentialed right now. Can we grow that population? So we really are taking that approach of how can we move enrollment at all of our campuses. And particularly with Fredonia, we've been talking with Fredonia. They are transforming their first year program. They're thinking about how they can add the things that they're doing in the great things that they're doing in the arts and humanities, along with some of the efforts that they have in STEM, to think about capturing those students who might be interested in the STEM fields, and which we've seen a trend, at least some amount of people more interested in the STEM recently, that then couples that with the arts and humanities that are terrific at Fredonia, and put those together and really make programs that are much more compelling. So it is this idea of how do you transform the institution so that they're more compelling.